Week 15 of the fantasy baseball season. Here's a few hitters I look to sell and trade this week. The first hitter, Dansby Swanson of the Chicago Cubs. So Dansby Swanson, he's coming off a magical week where we saw him have 15 RBIs in a series versus the New York Mets as Dansby Swanson. But besides that, he really hasn't done much all season long on the year. 11 home runs, 46 RBIs. 48 runs scored, 10 stolen bases, a 190 average, 87 on base percentage. So Swanson, pretty much over the last month, he's done all his damage in that 4-game set versus the New York Mets. When the last month, 4 home runs, 19 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, 15 runs scored, a 195 average, and a 280 on base. When that 4-game set, he had 3 homers and 15 RBIs in that time. So Swanson still owned in 71% of fantasy leagues. And like I said, that Mets series woke him up, and then after that, he went 4 games in a row, 0 for 4. June 24th at the Mets, like I said, 5 for 9, 2 home runs, 11 RBIs, 3 runs scored, a stolen base in that doubleheader. Then June 25th at the Mets, 0 for 4 run. June 26th at the Brewers, 0 for 4. June 27th, the Brewers 0 for 4, and June 28th at the Brewers 0 for 4. So quickly back to form versus a good pitching Brewer team. Dansby Swanson went in that weekend series, and like I said, he had a magical 4-game series where he had the 3 home runs, 15 RBIs, but like I said, all season long he struggled. That batting average has been below the Mendoza line. We know he's got pop, no doubt about it, this Swanson. But like I said, that one series alone is why I would sell him off. Where already he's converted back to struggling his Swanson and not hitting the baseball. After a big 4-game set last week at the Mets, definitely a hitter I would sell this week. Next hitter, Carter Jensen of the Kansas City Royals. Carter Jensen, one of the only bright spots this season, especially in this lineup for this Royal team, where Bobby Witt, he's come on a little bit of late, but definitely his numbers in terms of home runs and RBIs are down this season. And this Royal team, 15 games under 500, where they're going to be playing the young kids and obviously as well selling pieces off at the deadline. So Carter Jensen, a youngster, had a cup of coffee last season in the majors, 60 at-bats, and so far this year, 11 home runs, 45 RBIs, 39 runs scored, a stolen base, a 251 average, and a 317 on base. And over the last month, 5 homers, 22 RBIs, 19 runs scored, a stolen base, a 295 average, and a 333 on base percentage. In the last 2 weeks, he's tearing it up, 3 homers, 10 RBIs, 9 runs scored, a 388 average, and a 444 on base. So like I say, Carter Jensen, he's playing great baseball, but there's not many good hitters in this lineup where I think teams are going to start pitching him carefully a little bit and deal obviously with the other part of the lineup for this Royal team, because even Salvador Perez, he's struggling. Bobby Witt, it hasn't been a great year in home run RBI wise. I know stolen bases, batting average, he's been solid as Witt, but still not living up to obviously a top 5 pick in most fantasy drafts coming into the season. So like I said, there's not much in this lineup, and teams are going to adjust here to Carter Jensen, where he's batting anywhere from first to third for this Royal team. June 25th at the Rays, 1 for 4, a homer, 2 RBIs. June 26th at the White Sox, 1 for 4. June 27th at the White Sox, 1 for 4, an RBI. And June 28th at the White Sox, 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs. I know catch is a weak position. That's another thing where you can get good value for Carter Jensen, in my opinion, where there's only maybe 8 to 10 good catches in fantasy baseball this season. So Jensen showing average. He's showing some pop, but also as well, he was a guy on the waiver wire a couple weeks ago. So anytime you pick someone up off the waiver wire and you can flip him in a deal, this would be a good time to do it. And I would do it with Jensen this week. Next hitter, Brandon Marsh of the Philadelphia Phillies. So Brandon Marsh, he's having a solid year, and arguably he's been the most consistent Philly from season start to now. Obviously, is Marsh consistently wise. Well, we've seen even Schwarber with the 30 home runs this season have a few weeks he's slumping. Marsh on the year, 12 home runs, 42 RBIs, 46 runs scored, 8 stolen bases, a 321 average, and a 353 on base percentage. So Brandon Marsh, he don't draw a lot of walks. He's a free swinger, swings early in the count. Good thing about him this season, he's in there even versus lefties, where pretty much throughout his career he's sat versus lefties as Marsh. So he's taking the next step with that. But like I said, this 300 plus average I don't see keeping up for Brandon Marsh. Power numbers pretty decent, 12 on the year, where he only hit 11 last season, but he's already only 89 at bats short of what he did last season was Brandon Marsh. So the last month of the year, 7 home runs, 18 RBI, 17 runs scored, 4 stolen bases, a 311 average, and a 348 on base percentage. So like I said, Brandon Marsh, he's a guy definitely playing good baseball, but also as well, he's had two pretty good series at the Nats where their pitching staff, besides Foster Griffin, hasn't really been good. And this New York Met team, their pitching staff all season long has been horrible. June 25th at the Nats, 2 for 4, homer, 3 RBIs, a stolen base, 2 runs scored. June 26th at the Mets, 0 for 4. June 27th, the Mets 1 for 4. And June 28th at the Mets, 2 for 4 with an RBI. So like I said, Brandon Marsh, he's playing great, no doubt about it. But I don't think he's going to keep it up at the level he's doing it. And also as well, I know he's got great hitters in the lineup around him. Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, even though he's struggling this season, and Alec Boehm's been playing better baseball. But like I said, the 300 average, I don't buy for Brandon Marsh. The power number, probably 20, 25 home runs, which is still solid for Marsh. But throughout his career, he definitely hasn't had a track record with the power. So with those factors, I think Marsh playing a little bit over his head right now. And I would sell him this week. And I'm not saying just dump him for anything, but definitely someone I think that's got peak value. Next hitter, Max Muncy of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He was on the list last week, and once again, Max Muncy, he's not really showing power, and that's been his specialty throughout his career as Muncy. And the last month, it's definitely been non-existent, even though the average has gone up. 16 homers on the year, 35 RBIs, 50 runs scored, a stolen base, a 263 average, and a 361 on base. In the last month, 3 homers, 15 RBIs, a stolen base, 13 runs scored, a 282 average, a 371 on base. In the last 2 weeks, no home runs, 7 RBIs, and 231 in that time. So if Max Muncy's not bringing power for fantasy owners, obviously that's going to be an issue where I don't believe he's going to keep this batting average up. We even seen it now over the last week where it's coming back down a little bit as Muncy, and we know he's in a great lineup with obviously great hitters, Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Kyle Tucker, even though it's been a bad year for him. Teoscar Hernandez, he should be back any day now for this Dodger team. But like I said, if Muncy's not hitting for power, and even last season only finishing with 19 homers, he's definitely a guy that won't have great value, where his average just won't keep up going off track record. June 24th at the Twins, 2 for 4 and RBI, a stolen base. June 26th at the Padres, 0 for 3. June 27th at the Padres, 2 for 5, 3 runs and RBI. And June 28th at the Padres, 0 for 3. So this Dodger team, we know they're a well-oiled machine. We know once again they're the class of the National League, coming off of 2 championships in a row and going for a 3-peat this season. And like I said, the Dodgers is definitely taking off now. Easily is the best team in the NL with a 54-30 record, where a team like the Braves have cooled off a little bit. And the Brewers, they're playing great baseball, but they're not on the level of the Dodgers, where we saw the Dodgers easily take care of them in the playoffs last season. But like I said, Max Muncy, you would expect more out of him in this lineup, and he's pretty much in there every day, except versus lefties, where they really haven't versus lefties is this Dodger team of late. So like I said, Muncy's on a great team. Once again, first place team going for the 3-peat this season, but you just want to see more home runs out of him as Muncy, where he started out of the gate hot with 16 homers, but the last month and a half, he's definitely cooled off there. So someone I will put on the trade block and sell this week. In the final hitter, Luis Arraez, the San Francisco Giants. Arraez having another great batting average season, but we know this with Arraez. Everything else he's not really going to bring you. Stolen bases, he's not really going to bring. Power and RBIs, obviously he's not going to bring. And even on base percentage, he's not going to bring, where he's a free swinger early in the camp. He chases a lot, is Arraez, even though his strikeout rate is next to nothing, only 13 strikeouts once again in 309 at-bats. But like I said, he swings early in the count. He looks for that fastball early, and it's worked for him. But like I said, pretty much the only category he's going to bring you is batting average. And on the year, 3 home runs, 31 RBIs, 42 runs scored, 6 stolen bases, a 324 average, and a 360 on base. In the last couple weeks, he's on fire. A homer, 5 RBIs, a stolen base, 7 runs scored, 364 average, 421 on base percentage. Like I said, Arraez, besides batting average, he's not a guy I value much in fantasy baseball. If he was giving me batting average and let's say stolen bases, runs scored, and a better on base, yeah, he's definitely someone you'd be happy to have on your team. But like I said, he's a one category type of player. He does qualify at first and second, and right now, well, he's been on a hot streak and also could be a trade candidate, where this San Francisco Giant team, they're way out of it this season at 35-48. Definitely going to be sellers at the deadline, and we've heard guys like Devers Willie Adames, Chapman, and I'll throw Luis Ariz in there as guys they're going to sell off most likely at the deadline. June 23rd versus the A's 1-for-2. June 26th versus the Braves 1-for-3. June 27th versus the Braves 1-for-4 run. And June 28th versus the Braves 2-for-3 run, an RBI. So Ariz, he's a singles hitter. Even in points leagues, he's not going to help you much, where obviously a single's only 1 point. And if he scores the run here and there, that's 2 points. So like I said, Ariz, great hitter, obviously batting champ a couple times in his MLB career, but not someone who's really big time in fantasy baseball. Well, he's bumped that average up over the last couple weeks here. Definitely a sell high hitter this week. So that's a few hitters I look to sell and trade for week 15 of the fantasy baseball season.